Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast where we have the beautiful Julie Fisher, who is a mum, carer, best-selling author, speaker, radio host, and passionate advocate. So, thank you so much for joining me today, Julie.
Oh, thank you, Vanessa, for having me. It's great. It's great to see you again. We haven't chatted for a little while, so
And
I'm looking forward to today.
lovely to catch up. So, Julie, I'd love for you to share your world of disability started when you were pregnant with your son,
Hmm.
Darcy. Can
That's
you
right.
take us back to that moment? What were your thoughts and emotions at that time?
They were a bit mixed because previous to me getting pregnant with Darcy, I'd become friends with a lady called Tina who has a daughter with Down syndrome. So we became friends very quickly, and I used to ask her lots and lots of questions about her daughter Amy. So when a couple of years later I got pregnant with Darcy, I sort of felt like I was ready, if you know what I mean, because of her. So she's actually also the reason why we got a prenatal diagnosis, which wasn't very common 20 years ago. I can't believe I'm saying 20 years ago, because of what she said that it was like for them postnatally, which was very difficult. And friends and family coming in and crying because it's an unknown world, and it's the things that we see and that we've been told in the past make it not particularly nice. We don't know that it's actually the opposite of that, really. There are challenges, of course, but there's challenges with everybody. So because of her, we got the prenatal, sorry, diagnosis. And I was feeling very tough and very ready and, excited. I was excited as well. But then when the doctor told me over the phone that it was 100% Down syndrome diagnosis for our son, I still did go through a little bit of shock, definitely emotional, thinking, oh, wow, okay, so it's real now. What's this going to look like? What's this going to look like for our family? What's this little person going to be like? So it was a bit of a mix like that the whole way through, really, because I'd be up, I'd be with this beautiful group of women that I was fortunate to be able to start being part of their group because I knew that my baby had Down. So I would be with them and, listening and seeing all the wonderful things that their kids were doing. And I could see, that the kids were just like any other kids. But then, I'd still have those funny moments where I'd worry and think, oh, what if he never walks? What if he never talks? What if this? What if that? And I think that's just human nature that we do that to ourselves. So, he joined our family early, and he's an amazing young man. He's grown into an amazing young man. He's a teacher, which is quite incredible. I never expected that. And he shows us such a beautiful world. We see the world through his eyes, which is really lovely because he is really truly accepting of others. He doesn't have a care in the world, like he does at times, but when he's out and about doing things that he loves, he just enjoys it fully, and he doesn't care who's watching and he doesn't care who's around. Like he really immerses himself in it. And I think we should all be a bit like that because I think we'd enjoy things a lot more. And as we get older, I think we lose a bit of what people think, caring about what people think. And we do that. We do start to do that, but not like he does. He's
Such a
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, we all have such a, and I know myself, like it's the fear of judgment. Hey, like
Mm-hmm.
that's a
Yep.
special power he has to
It
go
is.
out
It
into
is.
life every day and not be fearful of judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do get that. We do get judgment, but I protect him from it as much as I can because I want him to keep being like that. I don't
Yeah.
want him to stop being like that. And because we get a lot of positives as well. We always get people that say, "Geez, I wish I had the courage to enjoy life like you do, mate." It's lovely, and that makes him feel good too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you have obviously become a really strong advocate for inclusion and acceptance.
Mhm.
What does inclusion mean to you? Not just in words, but in everyday life.
Yeah, in everyday life, it's so important. For me, it's just for him and others like him, and for everybody really, to just enjoy life as it should be enjoyed, live it as it should be lived. and not have to worry about people judging you and staring at you and things like that. Like, we're not going home with you, so why does it matter what we look like, what we do, how we talk? Why does that matter to you? You're not going home with us. So I just want people to be kind and just sort of see him as a person. Don't really look at the Down syndrome, because when you look past that and you see him as a person, you really see so much and you see a really beautiful person. Down syndrome is a massive part of him, obviously, and it's why he is who he is. But at the end of the day, he is Darcy. He's 19. He gets grumpy like we all do. He likes to bowl. He likes to play basketball. He loves the movies, the theatre, loves hanging out with his friends. So he does everything like we all do.
Yeah.
And for me, I want him to be able to enjoy that and to be able to go out into the community safely and not I don't want him to not want to go out into the community.
Yeah.
And I think the judgment from others creates that, because people become a bit fearful of it because they don't want to deal with that and they don't know how to deal with that either. So
Mm, yeah. So, what would you say are some of the biggest barriers to true inclusion that you have seen, both in the community and maybe in the workplace?
I think sometimes people think with the disability they're not able to learn or not able to do things. So there's a bit of and that's probably from, like the old stigma type things, that we've heard over the years. Everybody has different abilities, every single person on the planet. I can't drive a truck, for instance, and somebody else probably can't do something that I do, maybe not confident to write a book or something like that. So Darcy's the same, he can learn things just like all of us, and if he enjoys what he's learning, he's going to do really well at it. And I think, yeah, people should give people a chance,
Yeah.
and if, like, Darcy's just started life after school, so we're navigating new things for him at the moment and working out, how is the best way to teach him and all of that sort of stuff, and how he responds. Sometimes it's from your peers and sometimes it's from the teachers or the staff that are supporting you. So just give people a chance, because you never know what you're going to get from them. So,
Yeah.
and they can learn just like we can. Darcy takes a little longer to learn things, but does that matter? I don't think so.
No. Yeah. So, what is Darcy doing now that he's finished school?
So he's actually doing a day a week at his performing arts place called
Oh,
BAM.
amazing.
Yeah, so she's started a program for 18 to 21-year-olds, and they're learning all sorts of things, as well as the regular stuff that they do at performing arts. But they're learning like some filmmaking and things like that. So he's really liking that. And then he's at a beautiful working farm that's near us called Sage's Cottage, and it's run by a service provider called Wallara. So he's doing 3 days a week there, and he's doing basketball's one of the programs. He's doing horticulture, and then he's trying a couple of other different things on a Thursday, so that when we come to the next lot of programs to choose over winter, because they do change a little bit because of the weather, then he's going to be able to choose what he would like to do. So, I sort of helped him choose for this term.
Getting
And then
started.
I had to actually chat to the site lead today, and she said, we're really going to encourage Darcy to tell us what he wants to do. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing what he picks.
Users, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. That sounds great. Sounds like
Yeah,
you
and yeah,
keep it
he's
busy.
learning new yeah, he's learning new skills there. So, yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. So parenting always comes with challenges, but
Yes.
raising a child with a disability brings unique experiences. What are some of the most rewarding moments you've had as Darcy's mum?
Oh, wow. There's probably been a lot, like all the regular milestones that you have with your kids, walking, crawling, sitting, talking, all of that. But with Darcy, all of that was delayed. So he didn't walk till he was 4, and he had a walker. So the first really proud moment was when he lost the walker, and just the face that he had when he was walking without that walker was just incredible. And he was at a mainstream kinder then as well. So I think for him, all of a sudden he felt like all the other kids. And that was really, really wonderful. Working through fears with him together with support has been really rewarding because he's achieved some pretty big milestones there, like going up and down escalators. He was petrified of them, and now he goes up and down them with ease. Seeing him feel confident to step out, and I'm enjoying watching him now being able to make sort of decisions on his own a little bit. We're working towards more of that
Mm.
now. And as a mum, that's hard. And as a dad, as parents, it's really hard because we do things for our kids to a certain age. And then, when they're typical kids, all of a sudden, they don't want to hang around with you anymore and they're sort of making their own decisions. They let you know what they're doing. But with that, I froze, sorry. But with Das, it's taken a little bit longer for that to happen. So us sort of being his voice and helping him and doing things for him, it's taking a bit longer to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And he enjoys having it done for him, mind you. But I just love seeing him enjoy life as well. That's huge for me. Seeing him go out in the community with confidence. That's massive.
No, that's wonderful. How do you approach conversations about disability and inclusion with other children or an extended family?
I think I encourage people to ask questions. I've always done that. When he did some dual schooling, mainstream school, and I did a letter to the parents to tell them a bit about him and what he might need some support with. But at the end of the day, he was a little boy like their kids.
Mm.
And please encourage your children to come and ask questions. There's nothing they can't ask. And I encourage the parents to ask questions as well. And I do that all the time. And I think that creates the nice conversations. Yeah. And the same with the family, they'll ask, oh, can he do this? And I'll say, well, ask him. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I
yeah,
think sometimes they forget, especially if somebody's nonverbal. I think people don't realize that they can still make a decision and they can still have an input into it because they might not be able to talk like we do or at all, but they can still communicate.
yeah,
And we learn that. And I think that that's a really big gift. Once you start being able to see that with people, it's huge.
mm,
And Darcy's verbal, but some of his language is hard to understand. So we just get him to talk a bit slower. And he definitely, at this age of nearly 19, likes to be spoken to by others.
yeah,
And he'll answer. And if I'm with him and they don't understand, I help. Or I say, Darcy, just say it a bit slower. And
yeah.
he'll go, oh, okay. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful, like as well, to see that happening.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, wonderful. What advice would you give to parents who are just beginning their journey of raising a child with a disability?
Definitely have support around you. Look, if you don't know where to find it, go to, for instance, if your child has Down syndrome and you're not really sure where to go to Down syndrome Victoria or whatever state you might be in, or Down syndrome Australia, and start there. The hospitals and things should be able to give you a bit of guidance as well, but sometimes they can't. And just there's groups online as well that you can be part of. Books, lots of books, but definitely surround yourself with like-minded people because they're traveling the same journey as you and they'll be able to support you the best. And your family and friends as well. But with the tricky questions and the tricky things, I think having other families with children with disabilities, it's important to have them around because more than likely they've experienced something that you're going through, and ask questions.
Let's pause for a moment to talk about resources that can help you scale your NDIS business. Have you downloaded my free NDIS Business Growth Blueprint yet? It's a step-by-step guide designed to help you simplify compliance, streamline your operations, and grow your business with confidence. And if you're looking for more personalised support, my Bestie in Business membership is exactly what you need. You'll get group coaching, virtual co-working sessions, and tailored strategies to help you thrive in the NDIS space. You can find the links to both the freebie and the membership in the show notes. Now let's get back to the episode of NDIS Business Breakthrough with Vanessa Norman.
Don't ever worry about what the question is, just ask them.
Yeah.
And you'll get the answers.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, like you say, around that support system. having the like-minded people or people going through those same challenges or the roller coaster that you're on.
Definitely.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
can
you need
relate.
people. That's right, yeah. And you need people to be able to talk freely about it as well, if that makes sense. Like I remember one of the early coffee groups I went to at Tina's place, and I can't now remember the exact conversation because it was a long time ago, but they looked at me at one point and they said, "Oh, don't mind us. If we can't talk about our the disability like this, who can? Like you have to be able to sometimes."
Yeah,
Like they were, not mocking it, but they were just needing to have a bit of a release,
yeah,
and nobody judged anybody around that table for that. And you
mm,
need to be able to do that. And having the support, like I remember when I had my first son, the hospital put you in, or the council, they put you in a first mums group so that you're with other first time mums. So that the same thing, like I remember Caleb doing something at some point, and I thought, oh, why is he doing that? Like all of a sudden, as a baby, he started doing something that was a bit strange. And when we went to the next first mums group, all the babies were doing it.
yeah,
So, so you don't feel so alone then.
yeah,
So it's the same thing. And if you don't surround yourself with people like that, it can be a very lonely experience. And you
yeah.
don't want that. You
No,
don't want that for you or your children. So
yeah, absolutely. So you have written best-selling books, you have given a TEDx talk, and you even host your own radio show.
yep.
Did you ever imagine that your story would reach so many people?
Never in a million years. I'd always had a dream of becoming an author from when I was in high school. And of course, life gets busy. We're at school, we finish school, we work, we get married, we have kids. And then, Darcy was 13. And yeah, the opportunity to write the book came up. So he's the reason why I became an author. And the book is the reason why I do all the wonderful things I do now in the sector. Just the books are great for people to learn. They're also great support for families as well. And they're even good for the service providers in the sector are telling me that they love to read the books because it gives them a different perspective. Everybody's story is different. So, you could read 5 different books about, a family with a child with Down syndrome, and they'll all be slightly different, but there will be similarities as well. And I
Yeah.
think it's great to get all those different perspectives. And yeah, and with the books as well, the opportunities sort of started coming up with campaigns, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed being a voice on a larger platform. So that's when the speaking started, and the local radio station always supported me with my books and with everything that I was doing, and just offered me a show. And we're actually going to be having our 100th show on the 1st of April, which is
Wow.
really exciting. Yeah. And on the show, we talk to the service providers, but we also have families and people who live with a disability come on and share their stories. And for me, that's really powerful because they get to have a voice and share their journey with a lot of other people. So, yeah, it's a wonderful journey. I love it.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So, what was it like speaking at the World Down Syndrome Congress and other major events? Were there any standout moments that have really stuck with you?
Probably lots. The World Down Syndrome Congress was incredible to speak at. It was such a big event. It was like a 3 or 4 day event, 3 day event, I think it was. And speaking with my peers, with other families, I was a little nervous. I
Yeah.
must admit, it was probably the most nervous I've ever been standing on the stage. But once I got into it, it was really wonderful, and just seeing them all sort of relate. And you know when I share different strategies of what I've done with Darcy to create that inclusivity for us and to educate others, you could see them like, oh, we, and people came up after and said, this is what we've been doing. We're going to have a go and do some of the things that you've done as well, to see how that goes. So sharing stories even in your own community is really powerful as well because it supports them. And another standout was at the 100 Speakers event last year, and I shared a story about a mum that approached me at an expo to thank me for saving her daughter's life. And yeah, she got pregnant and they received a prenatal diagnosis. And one of her friends ordered a gift pack from a group called Celebrate T21, which is what I'm wearing today. And it's a beautiful gift pack with lovely things for the baby, resources for the parents. And my first book was on the very top as she opened the box. Now, they had planned a termination, which is totally fine. You know, everybody's entitled to make their own choices. And she said she opened the box and she looked at it and looked at it. And 3 days later, she said, "Oh, I have to read this book. It's getting the better of me." So she said she picked up my book, read it in 4 hours, and cancelled the termination. And she said, "So this is my daughter. Thank you for saving her life." And when I shared that story, you could hear a pin drop in the auditorium, and I received a standing ovation. So that was
Goosebumps.
incredible. Yeah, it was incredible. I cannot believe it. And I held it together that day when she told me her story. I gave her a hug and she had a little boy as well. And I said, "Is this your little sister?" And he said, "Yes, isn't she beautiful?" And I said, "Yes, she is. She's gorgeous." But it just shows you how powerful it is, because if you don't know what you don't know. So
Yeah, the fear of the unknown, isn't it?
that's what she said. She said, "We didn't know what that world would look like. And when I read your book, you gave us a glimpse inside that world and you showed us that we can do it. And we are doing it. And look at her. She's the most beautiful baby." So, that's a big standout. I was really proud of that. And
Yeah.
just the people I get to meet and the message that I get to give that reaches so many. I'm really proud of that. So,
Yeah. Amazing.
yeah.
So many parents struggle with getting proper support for their children in schools. What is your take on the current education system in terms of inclusion?
Yeah, it can be pretty tough. And getting an assistant for your child in a mainstream school can be pretty tough, very tough. You've got to meet lots of criteria. And we were really lucky with Darcy. Darcy did dual schooling at the school that his brothers went through primary school. And because of the relationship I had with them, they made it work. But they sort of told me at the end of the journey when he graduated, they said, he only ever got a few hours funding each week. There was never a full day. However, they made it work.
Yeah.
And I think conversations and advocating for your child, letting people know that it's okay and they deserve the opportunity. And, I don't like the word fight, but that's what it feels like sometimes, just to keep fighting and keep advocating for your child. And, when you're successful and you see your child teaching other people, it's amazing. We had a teacher who was very wary of Darcy going to the mainstream camp, and we had some interesting discussions and advocacy. I won't go right into it, but I did think that Darcy got to go, and I did think that he was going to call me and say, "Come and pick him up, it's not working." So I was sort of holding my breath for 3 days, and that didn't happen, which was really good. And
Yeah.
when they got to the school and I went to pick him up, he was the first gentleman I saw get off the bus, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, you have an incredible son. He was amazing. And he did this and he did that. And oh, he was fantastic." And from that moment on, that man, every week that Darcy was at that school, would go and visit him in the classroom to learn more about him. And now he's the gentleman that I deal with when I organise my expo every year at that school.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
my little boy, he was 9 years old at the time, changed
His
the
perspective.
perspective
Yeah.
of a gentleman that had the old stigma that we
And
all
again,
have.
it was probably the fear of the unknown.
That's right. Wondering, what's it going to look like? I mean, his assistant went with him as well. So, never give up just because you know your child as well. So you know what they're going to be capable of. You know how much you can push them and how much they can learn. I do love the specialist education setting for children like Darcy, and he has done specialist education from the age of 3 to when he graduated last year. So primary was dual, it was both. I'm a big fan of specialist education because children like Darcy really do need that. He has an intellectual disability as well, and mainstream school teachers don't have specialist education training, and that's fine because they want to work in mainstream education. So, it worked for Darcy. I don't know if it would have worked 5 days a week, but what we did worked really well with him.
Yeah.
And he had his assistant with him all the time as well. He had somebody with him.
Even that sounds amazing that you were able to do dual schooling. Like,
Mm. It
yeah,
was great, and the kids were incredible, and some of those kids are doing work in the disability sector now. And I really do think that because they grew up with Darcy, that sort
yeah,
of had an influence. You know, some of them are volunteering at the surfing that we go to, and it's really wonderful. And they'll come up and still speak to him. I mean, he doesn't have a relationship or friendship with them anymore,
no,
but if we see them, they always come up and say hello, and that's really nice too. It's special, you know.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so but definitely, you know your child and you know what they're going to be able to cope with. Give things a try. If
Mm,
things don't work, don't get sad. Just go to whatever area they thrive in. And, for secondary school, Darcy really thrived full time at the specialist school. So I don't think he would have thrived in a mainstream high school setting. The high schools around our area are very, very big as well. So I think he would have got lost. Might have worked for 1 year, but so don't get down if something doesn't work. There's always something there for them.
it's to try, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, how do you think that workplaces can become more inclusive and welcoming to people with disabilities?
I think give them a chance, be more open, ask questions, and see them as people because that's what they are. They're people, and they want to try things as well. I know that Core Down have just released a new campaign, and it's incredible. It's quite powerful about letting them have their voice and things like that because they are people at
Mm.
the end of the day, and they have feelings and they have their own emotions and decisions they want to make, their own likes, their own dislikes. We're not all exactly the same. We're all different. So I think with employment, definitely know who you're working with as well. With that diversity, we're all different. So ask those questions. Have the special, if you've got people with disability working in the workplace, have those special lunches once a month so you can learn more about them and things like that as well. Because I think you really be surprised at how amazing they can be.
Mm. I love
Yeah.
that. So, you organise a local disability expo.
Yeah.
What inspired you to create this event, and what impact have you seen from it?
Okay, so what and I wanted to do this a long time ago, but I think the books and the speaking are what gave me the confidence and the courage to do it. I wanted to do it because I saw a lot of my friends who needed to attend expos to meet the providers and find out what services they offer. They needed to go to them because they were a bit lost. And, especially when the NDIS came in, it was, quite confronting for everybody, that we were hearing all sorts of different stories and it was overwhelming. And these people need to go to the expos so that they can find resources for their kids. And they weren't going to the big ones in the city for lots of different reasons. Too big, overwhelming, too far to drive, parking's too expensive, all that sort of stuff. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a local one? And now there's lots of little local ones popping up, and I love it. I think it's great because number one, it's the services that can support you in your area. And number two, the providers are meeting the families that they can support. And having a smaller expo, I mean, I say small, I have 60 tables at my expo, but compared to some of the bigger ones, that's quite small. It's wonderful. And I also love seeing all the providers meet each other and they end up collaborating and do networking events. And, they pass on, if a client's not working for them, if it's not the right fit, they'll pass the details of another provider on. So it's very inclusive as well. And I love seeing the people walk out with a smile on their face. I bumped into a young girl the other day. She said, "Oh, are you having your expo again this year?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Oh, fantastic, because we found two amazing supports for our son, and it's just been incredible. Before your expo, we didn't know where to go, who to ask." So that's another, to your question earlier, go to the expos and that's when you'll find out who you can ask. And you'll know when you're talking to the providers if you feel confident to work with them or if they're a good fit. You definitely will. So
Yeah.
I'm very proud of my expo. I do have a friend of mine that I lean on with, what do you think if I should do this, or what do you think if I should do that? And she supports me with that. I have a couple of sponsors now as well, and I have my regular providers that have supported me with the expo every year since it started. And that's really lovely too. So I've been able to build great relationships with them. And from there, I can recommend them to people too, because I know how passionate they are working in the sector. So there's so many benefits to having them locally, there really is.
I totally agree. It's something that I actually say to my clients is I personally, as an ex NDIS provider, found so much more value in attending those local community expos than I did the big, huge ones in the city.
Yeah.
It's just so much more intimate. You're meeting, like you say, you're in your exact immediate local community as opposed to being this massive. Yeah.
That's right. And, those big ones, there's some great providers there, but I remember I quite like them. I get a lot out of them, but half of the providers that you talk to, they're like, oh, where are you based? And you tell them and you say, oh, no, we can't help
Yeah.
you. And that happens a lot at those bigger ones. For some reason, I'm not sure. Yeah. And I know a lot of the local providers that come to mind have been at those big ones as well, but yeah, that they are good, but the local ones are great because you do meet the people that can work with you.
Yeah. So, Julie, what's next for you? Any projects, books, any more
Yes.
on the horizon?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I am writing another book at the moment. So this book is the
Amazing.
follow-on from The Unexpected Journey. So picking up from when Darcy was 13 and going through to now, to what he's doing. So it's called The Adolescent Journey, Embracing the Beauty of the Teenage Years. And, I'm talking in there about, so when we published the first book, about a month later, Darcy had a peg and we were able to remove the peg. We taught him to drink out of he's chosen a drink bottle as a vessel to drink out of. So I sort of touch on that, and then throughout the book I'm talking about applying for the DSP and what you need, resources, how to be prepared for after school life, what you can do, how early you should do it, talking about having to get the functional capacity test. I talk about the companion card because there's still heaps of people that don't know about the companion card in there. Oh my goodness. That just astounds me that still people aren't being told about
Yeah.
things like that, and they're so important. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. I talk a lot about support for you and support for your child, getting good support workers around them that are going to work with them on their goals and, conquering fears and all sorts of things like that. So I'm almost finished the book,
Amazing.
almost finished getting everything onto the pages, and then I'll review it and get it ready for editing. So I'm a bit excited about that. I've got the expo planning again already. It's on the 11th of October this year. And yeah, I've got a few speaking events coming up as well.
And you're up for a few awards too as a finalist.
I am, yes, Women Changing the World and the Beam Awards, which is very exciting. Unfortunately, I can't get to the Women Changing the World Awards because they're over in England, but I will be tuning in. I think it's about midnight our time, so I might have to have a bit of a nap beforehand. But yeah, that it's nice. It's nice getting recognized. You might not win, but even being a finalist among your peers is incredible. Yeah, it is. It's massive, and yeah, I'm really proud of that too.
Yeah, very good. So your quote, give people a chance and watch them shine, is such a powerful message. What does it mean to you personally?
For me, even if you're at the shops, if you see someone with a disability and, give them a smile or say hello and just give them a chance to be a person, which is what they are, you will see them shine. You'll see, if Darcy's out and about and people respond to him when he says hello, he feels very proud and, he's happy about that. And if you give him a go, like the camp, give him a go and you will see him shine. And then you see everybody around you shine as well. So I think you really learn from it and it's wonderful. I love seeing people, when they watch Darcy do something, they watch him and they smile because they're not judging him, they're giving him a chance and they're watching him enjoy, and they're having some magic happen themselves, and I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, how can people support your work or get involved in the advocacy for disability inclusion?
Yeah, the best thing, I've got a page on Facebook called The Unexpected Journey. That's probably the best place at the moment because I'm redoing my website at the moment. So that's not working. And they can look me up. I'm on all the social media places, and just ask. Like, I've got lots of friends that thank me for what I do because they don't feel like they can do it on the platform I'm doing it on. And it's all happened organically, Vanessa. Like, it's just, I didn't set out, at the very beginning when I wrote that first book, thinking that I was going to be speaking on stages or anything like that, and making such an impact and having these amazing relationships with the providers in the sector. I really enjoy that. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to write a
No.
book and tick that off my bucket list. And all these other things have happened since then. And I think if you want to do that too, if you want to be an advocate, just start sharing your journey so that others can learn and others can not feel alone, sharing our stories. There might be someone sitting at home and your story might not be exactly the same as theirs, but it might be similar. And all of a sudden they don't feel alone anymore, and that's really important too, because it can be a lonely journey if you allow it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, just message me, and yeah, I'd love to meet you and see what we can do together. Come along to the expo if you're in my area,
And so, where
uh,
is your expo?
Langwarrin, which is near Frankston and Mornington Peninsula. So, and yeah, and if there's anyone that wants to come on the radio show and share their journey, more than happy for that as well, because I think the more we share, the more everybody else learns.
Yeah, no, beautiful. Thank you so, so much for joining me today, Julie. I just
Thank
love
you for having me.
listening to your stories and all of the wonderful things you're doing.
I've loved it, Vanessa. Thank you so much for having me. I was really pleased when you asked me to come on, and I
Oh,
thought, yeah, it'll be great. It's, the more we share, the more people learn, and the more people feel confident to reach out. When you first get into it and you first find a provider for your child, a support worker or something, and they go the first time, it's it's quite hard, and there's a real trust thing. You've really got to trust people, and that can be difficult at times. So I hope that by what I do, it helps ease that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think you're moving mountains.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you so much.